Hey guys, Greg here, Bone Tactical, and today we're going to discuss the pros and cons of becoming an expat, or basically the pros and cons of living in a country other than that which you were born in or in which you are a citizen. So, the majority of my fans and followers being from the US, I'm going to make basically a general discussion based off of that and how that'll affect you, but really any first world country and then choosing to go to a different country will really greatly affect you. I think the reason that I say leaving a first world country in search of another place to live is because for those of us in the United States, those of us who are Americans or those of us who were born in what we consider to be a first world country, it's not as common. So if I were to do a video to third world country audience about leaving the third world country, everybody would already want to leave. Everybody would already know the pros and cons. So it's not really something that is even necessary to be discussed because everybody's already talked about it. Everybody's already thought about it. It's really a completely different mindset when you talk in the United States about being or becoming an expat. So I think people even take it to the point where they're offended sometimes, or they say, oh, you're leaving, they take it as some kind of loss of loyalty or something like that. Like if you have a place outside of the US and if you don't spend all of your time in the US, then you're not an American, or which is ridiculous, obviously. But the biggest thing is, since we're discussing the pros and cons of becoming an expat, I'm going to say first off that the cons of becoming an expat are greatly variable, and with proper research, planning, and really getting to know what you want, what you're looking for, and just study, then the cons can really be minimalized. The pros are just drastic. There's so many pros. If you're a wealthy person, you can use life in a foreign country or owning property or a business in a foreign country, starting a business or buying property in a foreign country to leverage tax breaks. You can really even get to the point where you pay very little taxes just by pursuing foreign interests and interests abroad. If you're a person who is not very wealthy, you can use the ability to do business in another country to make money, right? There's opportunities that exist outside of certain countries that don't exist in the United States. Let's say, for example, there's opportunities that exist abroad. A lot of people enjoy videos on private security contracting and consulting. Those are options of jobs that are available in other countries, right? Even if they are often American contracted companies, they are really jobs offered by other countries or offered in other countries, and many times both. So pros and cons, right? There's pros of being able to have possibly a better life, definitely a more exciting life. There's the possibility of having more freedom. There's the possibility of knowing or not knowing necessarily what is. There's the really just adventure aspect of it. And also there's small things when we talk about doing research that make a big difference, like there may be a country that has a better education for your children. Well, there's lots of countries, actually. If we're discussing America, there's so many countries that have better education systems for your children. Pretty much most of the first world European countries, where I'm at in the Czech Republic, even has an incredibly better education system. Germany, almost any EU nation has a better education system than the United States anymore. There are safer places to raise your children, like Scandinavian countries. So, any of those countries are going to be much safer than the United States to raise your children. There's just so many things that you want to consider. You want to consider religion, politics, culture. There's so much culture in foreign countries. And then if you consider third world countries, you can do more with less money. So there's really so much. It's great to expand your horizons. It's great to expand your circle of influence. And when I say becoming an expat, I don't think anybody really wants to just completely throw away the opportunity to go back to the United States or to go back to your home country. But I think it's great to be able to broaden your horizons, expand your horizons. And who wouldn't want a summer home in Lake Como, right? The ultimate goals necessarily that we could be looking at. But maybe that might come along first with doing some business in some sort of West African country that's undeveloped, and then you using your resources and knowledge to develop it, because there are areas that have limited educational resources. There are limited financial resources in certain areas. And then if you're a person who has a great skill set, an advanced skill set, that's an opportunity for you to go to one of those undeveloped countries and help develop that country. Kind of similar to what I do in Honduras. I have a lot of programs going on that I'm just trying to help develop the country, and I can make a big impact. And that's one of the biggest pro for me, is being able to see the impact that I'm making. I can hire 50 people in the United States, and 49 of them will be very unappreciative. It won't make a big difference in their life. They will probably look at it as a stepping stone to something else, and their majority of them are going to have, an attitude of entitlement, like what we deal with our young people these days, and really just feel like that they deserve more than what they actually work for. In a third world country, or in a developing country, or in a lot of other countries, that's something that is not even a consideration. It's just completely different. And I can, like where I'm at in Honduras, I can give a job to 50 people. And not only are the 50 people their lives are changed, their families' lives are changed, our community is changed, all for the better, huge improvements. And then on top of that, I can even do community outreach programs, supplement the income of the church, and support 150 children and their families that were previously orphans, like what I'm doing right now, that had no hope of being of even surviving to become an adult, let alone have an education. So to me, that's the number one pro. Definitely what I find that keeps me looking for opportunities in other countries, and what keeps me going back and forth between Latin America and the US, or between Europe and the US. And where I'm here in Europe, I'll give some examples now. It's just, there's more history, right? It's an older country. There's more art. There's more culture, right? Because it's more, there's beautiful architecture. There's more strength in engineering and construction. You see that a lot through especially Germany, and then the countries surrounding Germany. Just much better engineering, over things that overbuilt, learning how to do it right rather than just learning how to meet the standards. I think people here, even in the education system, they look at every possible aspect of what they're doing, and they try to do the best they can, when maybe we don't go that far in the US anymore. So there's so many different aspects. There's health. Okay, people are much healthier in general in Europe. Overall, you don't see as many obese people. You don't see as many people suffering from diabetes. It's easier to have access to good food. It's easier. There's a lot of countries like Amsterdam, for example, but even here where I'm at right now, there's bike lanes everywhere. Everything's geared towards, just a much healthier environment. And you say, well, a lot of my people are, my followers, fans are very big on firearm shooting, stuff like that. Well, here in the Czech Republic, we've actually been getting together with some people here recently to do a lot of training, and even with some Israeli guys who are, very squared away guys. And I can't really get into a whole lot of detail, but you guys know the Israeli guys I train with, and they, a little bit about that, I'm sure, from my experience and from what you've seen other stuff here on the channel with that. But it's interesting because we used to train in Israel, and I used to go over there and train, or there's been times in the past, and recently this year specifically, it has become easier for us to talk to companies like IWI and have them import, firearms that you can't even get in the US into the Czech Republic, and then we can do the training here. So there's a lot of countries that are becoming more open-minded, and even I think it's about 1% of citizens carry here. But the crazy thing is the 1% of citizens in the Czech Republic, from what I've seen, and I've met a good percentage of the people who carry here, they are much better trained than an American citizen who has a firearm. In fact, I would venture to say that the average citizen who has a firearm here in this country is better trained than the average American police officer who carries a gun for a living. So It's absolutely unbelievable to look at the differences, really, especially if you can do so with an open mind and not really get your ego or maybe your pride about where you're from or who you are. Don't identify as being a certain type of person solely based off where you were born. I think we can really come together as a global effort, really, and help each other, and not have that this is the way we do things in this country. It's just how it's done. It's the right way to do it because it's how we do it. I think there's a real aspect of the ability to remain open-minded and cross those borders, right? Lose those fears. And I think we can all be a little bit more successful and have a lot more opportunities. And it's really something that's lost with my followers in general, because if you went to anywhere in Latin America, Africa, Mexico right now and said, hey, what do you guys think about immigrating to another country? There would be no doubt that the majority of the people would think that there is opportunity in other countries, maybe unduly so. But I think it's important that things are slipping. We're not number one at anything anymore. We used to be number one. There were times we were number one in the education system and health and so many things that we were number one in. But we're not number one in anything as a nation anymore. And I think it's good to see what's going on outside of the boundaries of our nation, and to check out what's going on in other countries. Not only so we can leave them behind necessarily, but so we can know what we need to improve on. I do appreciate you guys watching this video. I'm getting a little long-winded here, so I'm not going to go any further. I'll just say that I do really appreciate you watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, or if you don't, then the way to let me know directly is to comment below. I'll respond to whatever comment that you're writing me on here, and we can have a little communication, and then we can improve the content of my channel. So thanks for watching. Bone out.